imagine if we did the whole podcast, we staged it, and I'm like, hello, and I'm on the phone to Pete Donaldson on this phone.
Japan calling.
Wow.
Hello and welcome to the Abroad in Japan podcast. Probably the best way of learning about life in Japan without actually being in Japan. I'm your host, Chris Broad, and we're joined as always by England's top Japan enthusiast, Mr. PeteDonaldson.com. Pete, how you doing? What's going on?
Pete.com. What would I put on Pete.com is the question. Probably like a guide on how to replace the rear suspension in a Toyota Century. Maybe a picture of my favourite dogs that I like, mainly all Border Terriers. Maybe how to cheat at pool. Maybe how to cheat at getting the cheapest train tickets at the Southend train station, Southend Victoria.
Sound like Phidias.
I think it'd just be like, but again, back in the day, there used to be this this floppy disk that used to go around. It's called the Jolly Rogers Cookbook, and it was basically like for naughty boys to make like cherry bombs and stuff like that, like kind of like fireworks and go moving right up to legitimate terrorism. But after that, but it was like a guide on how to do all this stuff, and it was famous within schools. The Jolly Rogers Cookbook. Have you got the Jolly Rogers Cookbook?
Wow.
It'd be basically like that. It'd be like how to make incendiary devices in your kitchen with Pete Donaldson. Thank you.
Isn't your ill-fated YouTube channel about reviewing rice cookers? Couldn't you just do that?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
That's what the people want.
It's a great vessel for that kind of behaviour as well. Yeah. I mean, I would say that my YouTube channel has led. I can't remember when the last time I put an actual. Let's have a look. Pete Donaldson.
It's been.
When was the last time Pete
Donaldson
was put onto YouTube? Let's see what's actually. It's got my acting reel, which is very good. My presenting reel. Yeah, my last video was literally like 5 years ago. That's awful, isn't it?
I tried to find
terrible.
an interview you did the other day with Liam and Noel Gallagher, albeit separately, because I was like, getting caught up in the hype around Oasis.
Oh yes,
and I was like, I want to remember Pete Donaldson interviewed them both. I remember your interview with Noel Gallagher was pretty cordial. You're both standing at a bar counter. And you're like laughing awkwardly at all the jokes that you don't really find funny, but doing your fake laugh thing. And to be fair, Noel Gallagher's fucking hilarious. And then the Liam one, I couldn't find it, but I do remember you looked really on edge the entire interview, like you wanted to run out the window, like jump out the window.
Didn't enjoy that one. No, it was Liam Gallagher in his BDI guise, so
yes.
it may have been that how you couldn't find it, but it was disseminated and shared on TikTok like quite widely for something that I did, just simply because they were being awful and I was being scared, and I didn't have a very good interview.
What do you mean it got disseminated? Wait.
Well, it got kind of like
what
it got sliced up. Somebody sliced it up on TikTok because they were being idiots, or they were being, if you like Liam Gallagher, you like that sort of thing, just being brusque alpha males, and I was just going, oh, yeah, cool, it got put on TikTok, and so I think it was about stealing Idris Elba's hat. I think Idris Elba tried to steal Liam Gallagher's hat, and Liam Gallagher wanted to punch him because you don't steal a man's hat. I didn't realise that was the
man's
rule.
fucking hat.
But but yeah, I mean, Oasis-mania here in the UK. I didn't think I'd see the day where literally everyone went insane for a good week. Like if I see one more shot of Ticketmaster and somebody being in the queue for Ticketmaster trying to get Oasis tickets, I'm going to go absolutely insane. I mean, have they announced any shows out in the Far East? Is that going to be something that comes in the future?
No, they haven't. I know they're doing the UK first and Ireland, and then they're going to go and do Europe and beyond. But no, they haven't yet. I know the Oasis are pretty popular here, though. You know, a lot of people like singing Wonderwall at karaoke. It's a top, 20 karaoke song, particularly amongst foreign folks here too. But yeah, they're pretty popular. I mean, the interesting about Oasis is I never really liked them in the 90s. I didn't really appreciate them. I was like 7 and I didn't really understand. I was too busy listening to Aqua and the Spice Girls, all the proper bands, and the Venga Boys.
All the proper bands.
And interesting, the point where I actually started listening to Oasis was when I moved to Japan. I think I was having I was homesick in my first sort of 4 months, and I used to work at this school outside of the main school I worked at another school for about a year, and I didn't overly enjoy working there. I felt a bit uncomfortable and awkward. I should have written about it in the book, but I didn't. But because it was But anyway, I went to this other school once a month, I needed to cheer myself up, so I blast like Oasis on my headphones while I was riding this little local train or driving out there to that school, and it helped me get over the homesickness a bit. And they're pretty good. I like Supersonic. That's a good song. And the importance of being idle. Big fan of that song.
I was that little Cockney Walkabout song. Ding, 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 ding. I'd say that. Like, I mean, I was around about that time, and to be honest, like, I was never a fan.
You're a Blur man, aren't you?
Filthy not even a Blur
boy.
Man. I'm a pulp boy. I'm a pulp Peter. I'm a pulp person. But yeah, I was never like. It was just very. I think they kind of united the townies. They united the people who would happily go to a nightclub to dance to happy hardcore and drink Newcastle Brown and all that stuff. They united the football boys and girls with the the slightly more, you'd probably say, thoughtful indie crowd. But I don't know why there's so much of a. So I've seen like all of my timeline, friends, family members, etc. were just people trying to get Oasis tickets all last week, and it was just like, I think they really needed to have given the people of Manchester the tickets first, because they have spent 25 years wearing the most god-awful haircuts, sporting the most god-awful pretty green jackets, big old parkas, and they need to be rewarded for their devotion to crap clothes. And so the people of Manchester should be awarded that nice and early before anybody else gets involved. It should be a Manchester ballot before any of us muggles can get involved.
Can't wait to hear what our 700 Manchester listeners have to say about this.
I'm from the northeast. All they do is talk about being from the north. You're not that north.
But yeah, no, it's a cool time, and it'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds. Hopefully they come to Japan. I think Natsuki's a fan. Natsuki would love tickets. Natsuki would love to go and meet Liam Gallagher.
Big open air things. It will be interesting to see how big. Obviously, they're playing, I think, 5 nights at Wembley. It'll be interesting to see how much of a drop off that is in the second year of touring, and also like what venues they play. Would it be Madison Square Gardens? Would it be, out in America and stuff? Because those venues are always a lot smaller when they go out here. So it'd be interesting to see if they can play some proper stadiums out there.
I'm sure they'll do well. But time will tell. We've got a story here from Matt from London, not Manchester. It says, "LA Chris and Pete, I've recently returned home after 3 months in Japan, and whilst in Fukuoka, I found a small punk bar called International Rock Bar Siberia." What a name. I was enjoying a few highballs while being introduced to some Japanese punk bands by the owner, when 3 Japanese guys sat down next to me. After a couple of hours chatting, one of his friends ominously asked, "What do you think we do for work?" Oh, God. The guy sitting directly beside me spoke good English and struck up a conversation that he then translated to his friends. He insisted on buying my drinks and wouldn't let me buy any rounds. They were dressed quite brightly and the clothing looked expensive, so Yakuza came to my mind. Not wanting to suggest this aloud, though, I replied tentatively, "You're businessmen." He then informed me that his 2 friends own their own brothels. Yeah. And he is something of a YouTuber. Well, God, and I thought owning Lost Bar was good. Well, I wasn't expecting that answer, and I wasn't sure what to say. Being British, sex is still a bit of a taboo subject for us, but exactly because I'm British, I nonetheless found myself engaging in small talk, politely asking about his channel, how he'd got started, did he enjoy it, etc. After a couple more drinks and thankfully a change of subject, they finally bid me farewell, trying to set me up with a girl sitting at the end of the bar as they exited. Have either of you ever come across people whose conversation suddenly takes such a wild and unforeseen turn? Keep up the good work, Matt. I spend time with Pete Dolston and Natsuki. My conversations always take an unforeseen turn every fucking day. I mean, I've met the Yakuza a few times. We're literally shooting in Kabukicho 3 days ago, and there's a Yakuza guy blocking our shot. I think he didn't realise he was doing it. We had to walk over and be like, "Oh, can you move?" It was a bit awkward.
Smack, mate.
We was down that street. You know the one with the big Godzilla at Toho Cinemas? That big street. I was filming a piece to camera there, which is the worst place to do it, if you're me. And, this Yakuza guy was just in the way. and we're to be like, can you Trotto get out the fucking way, mate? We're trying to film the street, innit? And he was actually like, oh, see my son. I was like, all right, good. So
don't come back. Don't you come back.
There was the time on Oshima Island a year ago where Connor and I were filming for 2 or 3 days. Really cool island, Tokyo's biggest island. And we went to a ramen shop, and we sat down next to some guys, group of 3 very loud guys in their 50s, and it quickly became apparent that they were Yakuza. And they were like, how much do you make good money? And Connor was like, oh yes, thousands of dollars. And the man went, ha ha ha, give me some money. And Connor went, ha, ha, ha. And then the man went, no, give me some money. And it got really awkward very fast, like a Western or something. And we left that ramen shop quickly. But they're around at about the old Yakuza. They're about. Particularly on the, I can't remember the name of the festival in Asakusa, where they all come out every year to celebrate Sensoji Temple, and they all bounce around and stuff. But,
block everyone's shots constantly.
That's right. Get in my way. Yeah. That's all the Yakuza do, isn't it? You never met them, have you?
No, I don't think so. I think friends have done repeatedly, but no, never either in this rock bar or not really. So I would say that I've googled this rock bar, Chris, and I'm just looking at the Google Street View outside in Fukuoka. Big fan of that town. I think I might have been in it. I mean, if it's called International Rock Bar, I mean, come on. What the hell? Where the hell else am I going to go?
That's your entire Google history.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at it now. I don't know whether it's still open, but it is next to a unit, a shop unit that does just sell bugs, bagoom, edible insects is the shop next door. So
from Siberia,
it's the edible insect and rock quarter of Fukuoka, which is very cool.
My God. Well, we got a pretty interesting story this week. That's that the story would have been different had it been 1 week earlier, but it involves something that happened and then was quickly withdrawn, as you'll soon discover. Pete, fill us in on why Japan dropped a subsidy plan to draw women to the rural areas of Japan upon marriage.
It's all getting a bit Children of Men, isn't it? The Japanese government has shelved plans to give money and encourage more women to relocate to rural areas upon marriage after a chorus of criticism online that the move is discriminatory and lacks sensitivity, despite its intended aim of just helping out those regional areas. The government initially planned to incentivise the relocation of would-be brides to rural areas. What is this? Relocate them by expanding
like
the scope.
Plan.
Yeah, handing out $4,000 per person to those moving out of the Tokyo metropolitan area and working in other parts of Japan. As soon as the idea was reported by media outlets, the government faced an immediate backlash. Online comments such as, do they think money can buy women? See rock bar above. And are they trying to utilise women? The Regional Revitalisation Minister, Hanako Jimmy, which is the best name of any minister around, Hanako Jimmy wants to get ladies in the fields of Japan. She instructed officials to reconsider the plan. It's overconcentration of people is a problem, and a lot of, as Natsuki was saying in your recent video about the decimation of rural Japan, getting brides into the areas. I don't know whether that helps in any way, but that was certainly the plan. The ratio of single men in rural areas is higher than in the cities, partly because an increasing number of women are choosing to remain in the Tokyo area rather than return to their hometowns. Japan is one of the world's fastest ageing nations, with its birth rate on a downtrend. The trend reflects more people choosing not to marry at all or to do so in later life. You're not really addressing the root cause on this one, but you are threatening to relocate married women. It's just everything they do sounds like a mad plan from someone from the 1970s. It's just very we're going to incentivise the brides to go and live in that. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's there's always schemes like this. I remember the one in Miyazaki where Miyazaki's population was collapsing, and they were like, we'll give you a shiny penny and you come to Miyazaki to live. And it was like, it was about a million yen, which is something like $7,000 or something, which is a nice amount. But it really isn't much in the grand scheme of things. You've got to lose your job, you've got to move your whole career. Japan, it is quite... social mobility is a real problem here. It is quite tricky to, switch jobs, change careers and that sort of thing. Very stressful for everyone. So I'm not surprised, people didn't really take the $1 million yen bribe to move to Miyazaki, which, while beautiful and lovely, there's absolutely sod all there to see or do, apart from the weird moai heads that have been replicated from Easter Island. I should have given them free tickets. But this, this is not going to solve anything. Giving, what was it, 600,000 yen to move out of Tokyo.
It just doesn't seem that... I mean, even for relocation, that would only... It would only cover your move, wouldn't it, really? And everything tied into it.
If that.
I mean, wow.
It's really costly. Just getting an apartment in Japan now, you've got to put a down payment. You've got to pay like the first 3 months of rent up front. You've got to have a deposit. There's key money, which is literally a sort of thank you to the fucking landlord just for the honour of...
Get rid of that.
Yeah, all that. So it's not good. And then, above all, the main factor is... amongst birth rates, and there's lots of reasons why the birth rate is low. It's sort of for Japanese women, it's a choose your own adventure. Do you want children or do you want a career? Because your career is probably going in the dustbin if you're having kids most of the time here, and it's an unfortunate truth. It's got a little bit better in the time I've been here, but it's nowhere near as good as the UK, US for that sort of thing. Inequality is a real issue still. It's seen as the guy's the breadwinner and the woman raises the kids in the family and whatnot. And for an increasingly independent population of females, that's not a life plan that really works out very well. Doesn't fit everything. So this is a weird idea. I do like the name Hanako Jimmy. The way you pronounced it sounds like it's Hanako Jimmy. Hanako Jimmy. So it's actually a woman that came up with this idea, as you pointed out.
Well, Hanako Jimmy is a woman. I didn't realise that was amazing.
I'm surprised, but this is the problem though. Like we did the video, didn't we, about a week ago, where Natsuki has that very poignant kind of 5-minute. Kind of discussion about why the Japanese countryside is stuffed, and there's not much they can do. I really don't know what Japan can do. I left it on a positive note. I said that Japan is very good at facing dire situations and finding their way through, but I just don't know how they can do it without absolutely tearing up the many conservative values the country has and having a complete fundamental rethink about things, to be honest. But
I've got an idea, Chris. $5,000.
$5,000. You take this and go to the countryside, have some kids. See you later.
All right. Everyone stop complaining about how misogynistic this is. £6,000. £7,000.
But it was a shame though. Like during COVID, the only good thing to come out of it was people did move back to the countryside, and the countryside became temporarily rather popular. There was sort of an influx of people moving back, but I think that's reversed and forgotten now. It's things back to normal. Tokyo and Sendai remain great big hoovers for the population, and I don't know how it can get better, but I think it's going to have to start with making life a lot easier for women that want kids in Japan, to be honest. And a big fundamental rethink on the mindset behind all that. Good luck with that, though. That's going to take 20 years for a cultural shift. We'll be back to moment, guys, with your stories, comments and questions over in the fax machine.
Wow.
Now we're back with the fax machine. What do we got this week from our listeners? Mr. Dawson, fill us in.
We got a message from Michael in Melbourne, Australia. Hi, Chris and Beats. I'm planning for a third trip to Japan this time, exploring the Tohoku region in mid-October to early November 2025 as a solo traveller. I've always wanted to travel solo, and I feel like Japan is one of the best places to do that. My question, in the Tohoku region, will I be fine travelling alone for around 16 days? I can only understand basic Japanese, so I'm curious if having a limited Japanglish will be a hindrance to me exploring that region. When it comes to paying in restaurants, is cash still king, especially in the Tohoku region? Regards, Michael, Melbourne, Australia. I think the only kind of like barrier to travelling solo around Japan and knowing no English, Japanese, or small amounts of kind of have a beer please Japanese, holiday Japanese. The only sort of barrier is literally just abject loneliness. Like after a few days, you're really excited, and maybe it's just the alcohol come down speaking. But sometimes some of those days just sort of feel a bit empty, and I think it might have a lot to do with the alcohol withdrawal, But yeah, I do find it's the loneliness that sort of gets me. I'm a people person, Chris. You know me.
You are. Too much people. Yeah. I'm kind of. I don't know where I fit on the Pete Donaldson scale of loneliness and singularity. Like as a solo traveller.
Neon loneliness. That was filmed in Japan. That video.
Of course it was. I don't think I've ever travelled much alone in Japan. It's not for me. But then a lot of people do enjoy it, and the times when I do travel alone, I find it's quite poignant. I find myself a little bit, because you have a lot of time wrapped up in your thoughts, taking it all in. It's a
very creative process, I think. I like the amount of stuff that I've sort of taken home, and I'm like, oh wow, just having that space to sort of decompress 100%. And the freedom to go to where you want to go all of the time. Like it's real kind of like there's no compromises. You just go, I'm going to go over here now. I'm going to go over here now. I'm going to lie down on a bench here now for 10 minutes. So
it's true.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man.
It's true. When you travel with me, every 5 minutes it's should we go to Yoshinoya? Should we go to McDonald's? Should we go to KFC?
Yeah.
So that's what you got to put up with. But no, travelling alone for 16 days in Tohoku, you'll be fine, provided you don't get lonely. In which case, just go to a hub in Sendai. Go to a hub, make some friends, job done. Or go to Izakaya and, try and chat to some people there. Do bring cash, because Tohoku is still a bit behind on things relative to the rest of Japan. You still need a bit of cash. And just have fun with it, If it was, I don't even know what I would do if I was travelling Tohoku alone. Probably ride a lot of local trains. I'd start in Fukushima, Aizu Wakamatsu, Kitakata, have some ramen, work my way up through Yamagata, Yamadera.
Yeah.
Bit of Sendai, Miyagi. Sport for choice. But know that, Japan is safe in that regard, and so you'll be alright there. Just take lots of photos as well. I always come back from every trip I do and I think, fuck, wish I'd got a photo or two. Spending time shooting 8K, 4K videos. And no photos. We got one there from Bethany. It says, "Hello, Chris and Pete. I usually listen to the podcast, but recently I watched a couple of episodes on YouTube, and can you explain the pink phone in the background of Chris's studio? I'd never seen one before until playing Animal Crossing. It's an item you can acquire on the game. I love it. It's cute and retro. Where did you find it, and what does it mean to you? Thank you so much, Bethany." Ring, ring. It's Pete Donaldson.
Chris is in charge of a large blancmange company, and that's the phone that the blancmange factory rings him on, day or night. There's no way of muting it. When the blancmange people need answers or direction, they ring on that phone.
Imagine if we did the whole podcast, we staged it, and I'm like, hello, and I'm on the phone to Pete Donaldson on this phone.
Japan calling.
I love like Bethany's got this like moving. It's a cute phone and Animal Crossing, and yet my phone is covered by salacious photos of ladies in the night, which the team did. I didn't choose this phone. It's a very
the team did it. The
team did it, not me. This is the set designers put this in here when they first built the studio in Sendai in 2021. And I'm told it works. If you do want to plug it in, it's kind of like an old phone box phone,
Yeah.
And it's cool. I forget it's there. So we get a nice phone. The old retro dial. But that's it. There's no other story to it. That's it.
There's another story to it. It was ripped out of a... But I mean, I imagine that kind of saw... I always sort of think about this, the car that I imported. Like, I'd love to know who owned it, what he used it for, what they used it for. And,
Yakuza Boss.
Yakuza Boss. But like that phone will have been used by so many people will have learned of births, deaths, marriages through that phone over the years, and now you are the steward of that pink blancmange phone, and it just sits there next to some dirty postcards. You rotter.
Maybe this phone used to be in your Toyota Century all those years ago.
Maybe, yeah, a little phone,
some weird twist of fate. The phone is very dirty. I'm hoping that's the team that did that to make it gritty, and not just a dirty phone they found just down
dirty
the back of
the phone is very dirty. Sounds like a Duolingo sentence.
Dirty, like those who used it when they rang up the photos around it. We've got one last question from Amy, who says, "Hello, Chris and Pete. I'm hoping the two of you can help with some information about alcohol and alcoholic rules in Japan. I'll be travelling to Japan. Alcohol rules. I'll be travelling to Japan with my son next year. He'll have turned 18 by then. I know the drinking age in Japan is 20, but I'm struggling to find information beyond that. For example, if we were to be at a konbini and wanted to buy alcohol, would we both have our IDs checked? And what sort of venues do you need to be over 20 to enter? Are they clearly marked? All the best, Amy from New Zealand. Pete.
Fun mum.
You're smart.
I don't think... the only time you really get your ID checked is, like... You might get them checked at, like, music events, maybe, but I think...
They don't ID check foreigners at all.
Nightclubs. Unless Amy, you go to a nightclub, you said, I don't think you'd necessarily be ID checked quite a lot, and you rarely get ID checked in Japan anyway. But I mean, I think you should be all right. I wouldn't be particularly annoyed if you bought some big tickets and then you get ID at the door and you can't get in. But I would say, I mean, surely you'd be all right, wouldn't you? They're just not going to care if you've got a ticket.
Again, I've never been ID'd in Japan. They don't really ID foreigners at all. I think they're just a bit wary of doing it. Not that I'm saying take your son and go and buy all the alcohol illegally, but a Lost Bar, our bar, you can come in if you're 14 and accompanied by somebody who's an adult. So you come to our bar, but your son will have to drink really delicious, tasty mocktails instead of actual cocktails.
Nice.
But no, you'll be all right. You'll be all right.
I'll stand outside with a hip flask.
Absolutely.
Let me just tot you up, son.
But yeah, if you go to konbini, they won't ID check you, so don't worry about that. You'll be in no trouble. Drink away, Amy.
Cool stuff, Amy.
Drink away.
Cool stuff.
Do New Zealand proud. Keep the stories, questions, comments coming in to abroadjapanpodcast@gmail.com or ask away in the YouTube comments below. But for now, guys, have yourself a great few days. We'll see you right back here to do it all over again on the Abroad Japan podcast. Bye for now.